What's up? What's up? Hey, happy Monday. This is Terrence, and I am giving you guys your devotion for this week. Or as I like to call it, I got five with Terrence.
You probably wonder, how in the world am I going to sum up Pastor Hannah and Pastor Glenn's sermon, The Sacrifice, from this month's series, The Temple, in like 5 minutes, right? Truth be told, I'm not. But I'm going to give you guys 5 things that I took away from last week's sermon that really blessed me in this week's devotion. All right, let's go to number 1.
So how about we start with the setup, all right? Check this out. 2 Samuel chapter 7 up to about verse 11. David is chilling in his mansion. He's chilling in his palace, right? Because he's a king, remember? And he's chilling with his friend named Nathan the prophet. And he's telling him, he's like, listen, man, I've got peace. God has given me peace with all of my enemies all around me. I'm living in like this amazing, dope palace. Yet, God doesn't have a place where he can dwell. God doesn't have a particular spot where he can just dwell and we can encounter him. And he says, you know what? Maybe it's time to rebuild God a temple. Because he's in the tabernacle, they're moving from place to place. We need a permanent spot for God to rest. He begins work on the temple. You know how long it took to build the temple?
7 hours later.
It was more like 7 years later. Because of David's track record, God's like, nah, bro, I'm not going to allow you to build the temple. However, I'm going to keep my promise to you. And I'm going to allow your seed, your son, instead to build the temple. Now, hold on. I know you're probably thinking like, that's like rough, right? It gets a little better. So even though God didn't trust David with the assignment, God trusted him with the blueprint. I can still fulfill his promise to you, even if you're not the one executing it. All right? So, not only did David turn around and pass the vision on to his son, he even funded it. Or, as we like to say in church, he sowed into it. Or if you want to look at it differently, he put a seed down, he put a deposit. He left an offering, which is what the Bible says, he left an offering. So he decided to fund the vision. See, when God gives vision, he gives provision. So he funded the vision so that his son could still get the work of God completed. Let's get into it real quick. Let's talk about the sacrifice. All right, so 1 Chronicles 29:5 says, for the gold work and the silver work, and for all the work to be done by the craftsmen. Now, who is willing to consecrate themselves to the Lord today? So when you think about when God moves you to another place, to another level, you have to change your mindset. And a lot of times when God moves us forward, we have to establish a spot for him. You have to make room, literally. Because I'm gonna tell you something, when God takes you somewhere, you have to take him with you. So in every place, in every elevation God takes you, take him along. You have to literally build a spot in your house to worship, because worship is how you got there, and worship is how you're gonna stay there, and worship is how you're gonna be able to move forward from there. While we're on the subject of the altar, the altar is literally an exchange point. It's literally where you lay something down and you get something back. And on top of that, you have to lay yourself down. That means you got to handle you. So before God takes you to the next place, he has to deal with you. And you got to deal with you. You literally have to lay yourself on the altar because you ain't got it together. Your agenda, all of that has to go. And remind him that, you're number one. You're first. You're my first priority. You're my only priority before everything else. Literally. Now, the next altar was the sin altar. Now, back in the day, they had to bring a sacrifice. They had to bring, offer up a sacrificial lamb and different animals to atone for their sins, right? But when Jesus came through, man, he came through in a mighty way. And he became the ultimate sacrifice for us and for our sins. And so, the next level, God has to address your sin, literally. And sin separates you from God. God literally transformed our temporary to our permanent. Which brings me to my last point, the final point, the self-altar. Now, I love the Message Bible because it's hood. God handles your sin. When he handles all of that stuff, it handles your baggage. You have to address you. You got to do the work. Pastor Glenn said something that really, really stuck out to me. He said, if you learn how to say no when you could say yes, then when you're able to say no, you're able to do it. When you have to, you're able to do it. When he gives you a seed, he's able to trust you whatever he gives you. When he's able to give you an assignment, when he gives you a new job, when he gives you a promotion, anything God gives you, he's able to trust you at that moment with what he gives you because he knows what he gave you. Now it's a matter of what you're going to do with it and give it right back. I want to leave you with this last point. Every sacrifice that you make is not a loss. It's a seed. And if you steward it well and you handle it well, God can trust you with whatever he gives you after this. Be blessed.